Alright guys, a little update for you. So I've been just kind of working on various systems on this thing. So oil system, I still need more fittings to finish that up. But I'm waiting for the intercooler so I can mount the intercooler and the oil cooler to run the lines to it. And so waiting for that. Kind of tackle the cooling system a little bit. So I'll show you guys. Let's see, we'll start heater core. Runs down to this, the end of that metal tube, and I actually did cut it. You can see that little weld there. It used to stick out like all the way out here, so I cut it, welded it, and I teed into it for the bleeder on the back of the head. They say you want it the highest point of the cooling system, but I didn't have room up here and I didn't want the hose coming, you know, the hose with that fitting would have came way out here, and then I have to try to find another bend to come back. So I'm hoping that's going to be high enough, and that is the return from the heater core. So any air that's in there should bleed out and hit the run up to the return on the radiator. So that one's down. I still got to find some bends for this one. This one mounts back to where this hose right here. It goes into that cooling flange on the back of the motor. I just got the stock one on there. It's not really fitting very well. Main radiator hoses. So what I did, this one isn't complete yet. I got to cut it and find a bend to come here and then a 90 here. But I went to Napa and just looked through all their hoses. They let me go in the back, and I went through and I found this one, which fits, I don't know, pretty good. Obviously I'm going to make a mount here for it, probably bolt it onto there, and then if I can maybe find some way to mount it back here so it's not flopping around. So I'll end up cutting this one here and then finding another bend to come into the top of the radiator. And the lower coolant hose. So I got a 90 there. It ends there. And underneath, same deal. Went to Napa. Got a hose. So you can see that. That'll run all the way up, and I'll just have to get a coupler for that. It'll sit right about there. So right next to the frame. So that's pretty good. Actually, I'll give you guys the part numbers. That's I don't know what these are from, what application they're for. 8761. That's the part number though for Napa. And that one is 9159. So, and they were like, I want to say they were like 40 or 50 bucks for both of them, but and then you still need that. I still got to run back and see if I can find that bend. So cooling system is pretty close, and I'm running an open system. So Volkswagen is closed. They have the bottle, which is the expansion tank. So essentially we're deleting that, and the radiator, well, this is basically the Toyota system. So you got to block off the fill port on that metal line and run your overflow tank just like Toyota did. And let's see, that bleeder valve, or that bleeder hose port, you got to tee into another line. Other than that, it's pretty much just the Toyota system. So I'm hoping that'll work fine. Other people have said it works just fine. So some more cooling system updates for you. So I just went to the scrap yard and I got this fan shroud and fan, and as you can tell, it fits perfect. I move that. So this is out of a 88, I believe, 88 to 95 Ford Taurus, 3.8. It's got to be a 3.8. The 3.0s are way different. So yeah, Ford Taurus 3.8 liter V6, fits perfect. This side there's no holes for mounting, so you kind of just have to pinch it. I put 2 on the bottom there, and there's already threaded. There's already nuts welded on the back side of at least my radiator. This is aftermarket radiator, so that was easy. And then I stole a chunk of the wiring with the plug-in, so I can wire that all up. Radiator hose. So I found this one here. I'm obviously going to cut it down, but I'll show you guys. So I'm going to be using the factory little elbow here, and I might potentially may run that bleeder from the head into here. I'm not sure yet. I'm going to try it as is. But so this hose, what I'm going to do is cut it right about here. So it's going to sit right there, and that's going to be like that, and that'll hit that angle perfectly, just like that. So other than that, the cooling system is done. So, and I actually had to space that radiator out. You can see my little 1 inch square tubing there. So I spaced that radiator out 1 inch so I could get that oil cooler in between the intercooler and the radiator. So should be plenty of room in there. I got about 1/4 inch between the radiator and the oil cooler, and the oil cooler and the intercooler. So that it all fits pretty good. So it's nice. There's plenty of room in front of the motor. You can actually space that radiator back. So yeah, I'm gonna wash this thing up and get it all mounted on there permanently. Cut some radiator hoses. So yeah, you can see plenty of clearance with all the pulleys on the front of the motor. So everything should work out pretty good there. So it's a little bit, it's the right width, but it's a little bit shorter, which totally fine. They say as long as your fan covers about 50% of the radiator, it should be effective. So mounting points, I got this hole here is factory on both the radiator and the shroud. So that's what I use as a guideline. So I mounted that up like that, and I took and used this hole here, which already has a nut welded on the back side. I drill a hole in the shroud to fit that. So I'll show you guys that, get that mounted up, bolt it on so you can see what it looks like. There's that, and this side has just a flange, just a little lip on the edge of that shroud. So what I'm doing is just taking the bolts and kind of pinch. I'm using the washer on the bolt and kind of pinching that flange in there with that washer. And for these bottom holes, so I had to, I don't know if you can really see that, I just barely cut out on the lip Those bottom holes are overlapped quite a bit. So on the shroud, I just ground out a little bit for those holes. And this thing should be mounted pretty solid like that. Let me get it all bolted on, I'll show you. So there it is. That thing should be pretty solid. So it's definitely not going anywhere. And then there was a I believe the brand was Hayden. They make a fan controller kit with a probe and everything to set this up without using all the factory crap, because I'm not using AC or anything. So I'm just going to be wiring in the high speed. This is a 2-speed fan. I'm going to be wiring in the high speed portion of it. So yeah, that's 20 bucks worth of a fan versus spending, I don't know, a couple $100 probably on a shroud and a fan. So just go to your junkyard. Ford Taurus, that's what we're using, so works pretty good. Alright, so this cooling system is complete other than clamps. So kind of go over it one more time. So all these hoses are from Napa. I'm going to link all the part numbers down below in the description. This is the factory splice from the Volkswagen, and I tied that in to the bleeder, that little bleeder on the back of the head. So that's the upper hose that goes to the back of the head. Lower hose, we'll start right here. So all that is a 90, and then the rest of that hose is one piece. So it runs underneath where the power steer or the AC pump would go, and kind of wraps around that rear motor mount. I'm not sure how much clearance there would be if you still had the AC pump in there, so this may not work for you if you're keeping the AC pump, but that one was a pretty good fit. Heater core lines, so this is a 5/8, the other side's a 1 inch. So this is a I took the sticker off. I'll have that part number down below. That part number's there. So these are both 3/4 in the middle, so I got a 3/4 splice there, which I might actually pull that out and get a adapter for a sending unit for my fan in right there, since that is right out of the head. So that should be one of the hotter parts of the system, so that'd be a good place for that fan control. Other heater core line is here, just runs up, 90s down, and that metal pipe I did cut and shorten it because it did stick out way out here, so I shortened it up so it's a nice tight fit right there. And then I built some clamps, so I got another one here for the lower hose. I just took some 1/8 inch, I think it's like 3/4 inch wide steel, and I bent it in a U with those little tabs on the ends, flat bar on the bottom, and it bolts on, and it holds that pretty nice. So on the inside I just took some 3M double-sided tape, ran it on the inside, and then I took some electrical tape. This is actually, like, I think it's called Terra tape. That's what Volkswagen uses for electrical tape, but ran that around it just to kind of give it some cushion, so it's not rubbing on anything on that hose, and it's not potentially cutting it. So I did have to space that one up a little bit, and so it sits just above that timing cover. And you guys might be thinking, well, how you gonna get your timing cover off? Well, all you gotta do is pull that bolt off, and this whole hose lifts. You can lift this whole hose up enough to get the timing cover off, so you don't have to pull your cooling system apart just to get the timing cover. So just one bolt the mount there, and you just lift your whole hose up to get that cover off. So that I think it all worked pretty good. So, and it's all, I've heard people saying their outlets on the radiator are 1.5 inches. They're actually 1 5/16, which is just a 1/16 over factory Volkswagen, which is 1 1/4 inches. So these are all 1 1/4 inch hoses, and I mean they're tight, but not. I don't think they're stretching too much. I mean, they're good luck trying to find an 1 5/16 hose to an 1 1/4 inch on this end. So I just went with all 1 1/4 inch. Even that 90, 1 1/4 inch on that 90. And another thing, I'm not running an oil cooler, the factory oil cooler. I got a air oil cooler here. So what I did was just loop. You probably could block it off, but I found a hose that fit really nice. So I just looped the two, the inlet and the outlet for that cooler. And then the only other port you got to worry about is that port right behind the water pump. It's actually that's actually where the factory Volkswagen fills from. And being we're filling from here, we can just cap that off. So I think that takes care of about every port and line of that cooling system. So pretty simple once you dig into it and figure out how it works and how it flows. But I'm sure this will help you guys out a lot if you're doing a similar setup, because I'm gonna have, I mean, I already did all the homework on what hoses you can get to work, and I think that's, I mean, it's not the best look, but I think that's pretty clean and tidy. So I don't know, I like it.